We in here. Woo, we in here. We live. It just said we live. Journey in the building. Y'all see how Journey got it looking over here? She's standing in for Toya today.
Sorry.
Oh, wait, no. There Toya go. Give it a minute. We should be getting started soon. Get everything started. Go ahead and get the comments. Hey, and check this out. Guess what we doing today, Toya?
What's that?
We are simulcasting on both Facebook and YouTube.
That's crazy. We
Yeah,
out.
yeah, we getting it cracking. We on Facebook and YouTube right now, right at this moment.
Love it.
What's good? Let's see who. When y'all come in here, man, say what's up, so we know who all in here. All right, gonna share it on Facebook. Y'all share the video, like the video. You know how it go. You know how it go. We're gonna be talking about this shit, man. Shit don't make sense. Crooked ass police. I mean, but we ain't gonna talk too crazy. We still on Facebook, so it can't be too reckless. But we definitely want to know y'all thoughts. Definitely want to know y'all thoughts. Tiffany in the building. Hey, and Toya, Tiffany held it down when you was gone too.
I believe it.
She held it down. We definitely appreciate that. Appreciate the love. Yeah, go ahead and let us know y'all theories on who actually killed Brother Joshua.
See these wild comments.
Yeah. Hey, and if you ain't got time to sit on Facebook, we are now simulcasting on YouTube. We doing big things. We on Facebook and YouTube. So tell your friend and tell your friend and tell your friend. Trying to tag George, even though George is in a
He said,
bank.
"I'm ready. Where's the countdown? Hey, don't rush greatness. We're coming. We're on the way."
Yeah. George will not be joining us. Brother George is currently at a banquet with University of Oklahoma debate team. They got something going on with UT. It's OU Texas weekend. Boomer Sooner. You feel me? Even I have to engage in some colonialism every now and again. Call it school spirit. Hey, and your boy is on TikTok now. This nigga George didn't convince me to get on TikTok. So just like, with him, he the social media guru. You feel me? So he directed me through the process. You know what I'm saying? So if y'all on TikTok, you know where to find me at the political plug. I'm the only political plug everywhere. You know how I go.
I'm back for good.
All right.
Let's get it going, bro.
All right, let's get it cracking.
We're dope as crack. Did you see what Tiffany posted? We're dope as crap. She doesn't really.
Hey, we appreciate you. We appreciate you.
But we're dope as crap. Thanks, sis.
Yeah. Because we know what you mean, though. So, but we appreciate you.
For you, my sister think we dope as shit, y'all. Thank you, girl.
Appreciate your censorship. But man, let's go ahead and get it cracking. So no count because we changed up the process, so we ain't got no countdown. So we in here. This is the chop up. I am the political plug. Y'all can call me Damo, and I have with me the lovely.
Your girl Toya G, you know what it is, back in this thing. Like I never left because I did have to leave last week, but we back. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
in the mountains of Utah. I was with the Utahns of Utah, the state,
The
and
the Mormons. You was out there with the Mormons.
I was out there with many Mormons and many churches and big church, the big one right down the street from the temple. It was lit though. It's a beautiful place. It is literally. I was in the city of Ogden, about 30 some odd minutes from Salt Lake City, and you just get on the plane and you surrounded by mountains, and you get to Ogden, and you get even closer to the mountains. So it's crazy. It's
Okay.
it's beautiful,
And it's the Mormons. So
and it's the
hey,
month. Yeah,
shout out to that boy Ryan, the GOAT, the champ. He out there. That's his program. Put on a wonderful tournament. Shout out to the University of Louisville for winning that hoe.
yeah, and Rutgers won the round robin. So
And shout out to Rutgers for winning the round robin. We debate nerds, so we definitely gonna give our debate props where it's due. But that's what's up. George is actually at a debate event right now.
yeah,
OU Texas. They doing some little debate, whatever. So he doing that right now. So y'all had me and George last week. Now it's me and Toya G.
you know it. This week's show is sponsored by Duce. It's been a long week. Where's my camera? Where's my angle?
Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah.
I have a bev. I usually don't do this, but tonight we about to let our hair all the way down because my God, your girl's been on the move, and I'm excited to get with you, Damo. You know what I'm saying? It's been a
Man. We definitely missed you last week. So let's get cracking.
good conversation.
But you know what? We actually about to follow up on that. So I have the first half of the conversation with George, but now we have in the second half of this crazy Botham Jean Amber Geiger murder trial conviction. Now the brother then got killed. That's crazy. Like, I mean, I ain't even no point in doing no recap and being like, oh, this is what happened. Yo, y'all know what happened. Amber Geiger popped up in a nigga spot, killed that nigga. She went to after a while. She finally went to jail. Trial happened. This brother Joshua Brown testified against her in the trial. She got convicted, murder, 10 years. A week later, Joshua Brown, who testified against Amber Geiger, who helped get her convicted, is gunned down. Now, before we get into the details of the aftermath of him getting gunned down, I want to know what was we weren't able to catch your thoughts on her getting convicted, the 10 years, and then I want your reaction on what like when he got shot, when he got killed.
So you want my reaction from when he got killed and the reaction for say it again?
Yeah, since you wasn't here last week, I want your
Right.
reaction on her conviction, the 10 years, and then Josh getting killed.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So reaction to her both being found guilty of murder and the sentencing. I knew they wasn't finna throw everything at her, but a lot of, and what's wild, and this is why the plot thickens on justice, and that's because now you have literally political agendas playing roles into, which they always have, but into sentencing. And so you have to think about it. She's the police. So we got to take this current contemporary issue that Black people have with the police seriously. So we don't have public outcry and a whole bunch of protests in Ferguson and Baltimore and yada, yada, yada. And all of those start to strike fear in niggas who, are like literally nigga judges who are afraid to be serious and bold about the sentences that they given. And so she should have got way more time than that shit. You walked into a house that was not yours. It's a red mat outside his house. You ain't got no red mat outside of yours. You go in there, y'all get into a back and forth. It wasn't like seeing a body pow. Y'all, it's testified that y'all had a back and forth that was like, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? And so before, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I get it. You train to respond to those situations, all that shit like that. But if the person wasn't like, hey, I'm about to beat your ass or I'm about to robbing you, and they seem just as confused as you are, like, you are supposed to be trained to handle these situations delicately. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for the confusion you have when that happens. So the sentence should be longer. And everybody knows that and everybody understands that, which is where the outcry is. But at least they didn't give her the minimum. So niggas also got to be grateful that the system didn't play them that way. You know what I'm saying? Because 5 years, like we would have been pissed. We'd have been, you know what I'm saying? So everything is so calculated. Everything has been so navigated so meticulously and then shat on. You know what I'm saying? Because as soon as we figure out, that we got some closure with the case, we got a sentence out there, then they want to act up in the courtroom and start hugging on people and doing weird shit. So
hold on.
As much of a spectacle as we can probably hope for. You know what I'm saying? Or anticipate.
And then since we just recapping a bit of last week's conversation, just a little bit. What is your reaction to the judge saying if Amber Geiger wasn't black, then I wouldn't be. If Amber Geiger was black,
I wouldn't be getting all this criticism. Girl, boo. Like I think I saw this post on Twitter that summed it up the best. The judge, what's her name? I don't even know if we figured out or said her name or whatever. I don't remember it. But she is the first black woman in contemporary history that we've seen cry white woman tears, and don't nobody want to see that shit. Like, shut up. You sound stupid.
Shut up.
Whatever a section of empathy you're trying to tack into, we don't have any for you. You look dumb. And this is not even from the perspective of like a racialized view or what you should have done as a black person in that situation. You mishandled your job.
Extra.
There was lawmakers, lawyers, attorneys, people in the judiciary field were like, she was completely out of line. Like, just
it was extra.
It was inappropriate. She misexecuted her job. Period.
So okay, all right. So
like, I feel you. I love the Lord too, but what are we doing?
Shout out to Malachi, and he's 100% on point. Straight up said if Amber Geiger was black, she wouldn't have hugged her. Goddamn right. That's the problem.
Period.
Like that's what she's not seeing. The fact that we're not afforded that.
For multiple reasons, right? Not only was she not would a black woman not been hugged by that judge because she was a black woman, and the law is seen as antagonistic to black people and just want to throw the book at them, but also niggas can't be seen in proximity with other niggas, or you cozying up to niggas and playing into that agenda. So you damned if you do and you damned if you don't. She would have been scrutinized if she would have tried to hug a black woman, because we can't show affection to each other in systems. In institutions like that, we can't show that we look out for each other, that we have each other's back, that there's some type of internal network within those networks, or then that delegitimizes everything niggas do. Right. So you can't be the black judge hugging on black women as they go to jail for murdering somebody, because then you too soft on niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a lose-lose situation. Right.
100%. Now, so we get all that silly shit. And then, like you say, to cap that off, you get the hugs, you get the forgiveness, you know what I'm saying? You get the stroking of her hair, all of that silly shit.
Yeah.
And then a week later, the star witness, Joshua Brown, gunned down.
Lose him life. Crazy.
What was your first thoughts when that happened?
When I first heard the news, it was backed up with a whole, but he was a shady nigga doing some illegal shit, whatever. And I'm not going to say that I ran to that version of the story, but, I'm like, okay, now we got to hold him in tension. Now we got to see how this develops. I wanted to have the here niggas going in, type of response. But I mean, I think before I had that skepticism, in all honesty, I was just like, niggas die every day, B. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it only took a lot of like dialogue and conversation around me and articles coming out and, skepticism around the shit for me to be like, okay, nah, this is actually more likely than not an agenda of bullshit on the behalf of the police. Cause I mean, but I don't know.
Okay. Because we gonna get into it.
What this reminds me of, though.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the same weird. What the fuck?
Don't even. Yeah, I'm gonna handle that real quick.
Sure.
Yeah, but go ahead. Don't even worry about that.
Right. What I'm reminded of, though, is the same ways we were trying to figure out what was up with Nipsey. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had similar feelings. Like, you got some street shit could have potentially gone wrong, or you got this revolutionary nigga that the police is trying to take out. Which one is it? You know what I'm saying? And now we trying to follow the details and figure out if, this nigga was really tied up in some wild shit that went wrong, or if he is being a martyr for telling the truth and speaking out, in the face of the police. And so the back and forth, the same feeling I had in that world and in that context is the same feeling I'm kind of feeling now. It's just like,
okay. So this is because I had a similar reaction, and mine wasn't more so, niggas get killed every day, but it was more like, damn, I knew it. You feel me?
Yeah.
I knew it was like, okay, I caught on. You feel like the nigga, you don't come from something like that unscathed. I mean, you don't just get away from that. You feel
Yeah.
me? So, I felt like, and then what it was, I saw that there were text messages, and or direct messages between him and a friend of his, just about like him being on edge and all other type of shit. So, I mean, I think it was instinctive for niggas to be like, oh yeah, the police did that shit. You
Hell
feel
yeah.
me?
Hell yeah.
So when it happened to me, it was just like, yeah, damn, that's like how it goes. You feel me? That's how it goes. So with those, and we want y'all reactions. Let me see. Malachi said it. Police murder black people and frame black people every day,
Every
and
day.
that's the and that's the reaction. So
I mean, I was giving my candid response, right? Of course, I come to that conclusion, but you know what I'm saying? Niggas get busy, and there's no reason. Like it wasn't like they were saying this was affluent. Like it could all types of niggas live in apartment complexes. You know what I'm saying? Like niggas will tell you in a heartbeat. I stay down the street, around the corner from the police, and I still do my thing. You know what I'm saying? So just being honest, I'm just like I'm curious about how it plays. I don't disagree, Malachi. It took me a second to get there. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and so now we got to present the facts, right?
Right.
Or what's being considered the facts. So he gets killed. After he gets killed, after we make our assumptions, then boom, we find out it was a drug deal
Mm-hmm.
and it was weed, right? Now, immediately I get skeptical. Like a drug deal, weed. Okay, let me read a little bit more into it. So come to find out, some niggas from Louisiana, you feel me? Some niggas from Louisiana drove all the way down to Dallas to
Mm-hmm.
buy some weed and I think some to buy some weed. We know they drove down there to buy some weed. There was some
Certainly.
weed and some cartridges. In the course of them, and this is how the story goes. In the course of them being going through this transaction,
Mm-hmm.
what ends up happening is he gets killed. The police are saying he shot one of them. They shot and killed him.
Mm-hmm.
They took they bag with their money in it. They took his, meaning Joshua's gun. They fled, dropped a friend that got shot off at the hospital to be
Mm-hmm.
taken care of,
Mm-hmm.
and then they dipped off. They allegedly caught the driver or the alleged driver, and they have the nigga that's in the hospital. And I think they saying that they just caught up with whoever the next person was.
Yeah.
With those facts presented there, how does that change y'all in the chat? But also, Toya, how does it change your perspective of the story? Is it feasible? Is that something? Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we working with?
I
Because that's really how they say it happened.
it he could have been the grimiest nigga in the streets with the biggest plug with all the shit in the world, every cart, every flavor. Shout out to Dank Vapes. Whatever you got, the nigga could have had it. All the tree, all the flower, all of that. I don't necessarily know why that bleeds over into the direct possibility that the police want to silence him and his ability to speak against it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, cool. I even grant you that the nigga was into some tricky shit. I would be a fool to take out the possibility or counts out the possibility that while he is in business handlings with all different types of niggas and interesting characters or whatever, that the worst and most interesting characters he was in interaction with was the police. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
this is called coincidence. This is called unintentional overlap. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand why people are not willing to think complexly enough to say, okay, even if he had his mishandlings or his dealings in whatever industry or whatever he's in, that the police very well and still and for sure, then does that not provide a better cover story for them to do that? Like, we can just straight up kill this
Yeah.
nigga and blame it. Like, listen, I think how easy it is.
Okay. Hold on. Because we spiraling.
I mean,
You
but I'm
feel me?
saying how convenient, like the convenience of everything that they found.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying, when you look at what happened, do you think the facts point towards a what I would consider a tragic coincidence?
I think the propensity for the police to be on bullshit and to attempt to retaliate in combination with the fact that he was possibly a part of some shit means that there are 1,000 different conclusions or 1,000 different origins or 1,000 different justifications of why this nigga died. But we would be foolish to cancel out the possibility that the police were directly involved. So yeah, I'm just saying. And the thing about we have to just find out more information is that we won't find any more information out. This information will be bounced around internally, right? Conclusions will be made. We'll be privy to whatever information they want to give us. And so we won't really know the true conclusions of a lot of this shit. Just because they've arrested suspects means nothing to me. You know what I'm saying? Like we were just talking kind of before the show about how tragically like crazy it is that this is really developing in the hands or in the direction of what the police want them to, because they done found somebody and put them in jail and locked them up. You know what I'm saying? But I'm still willing to be skeptical. Like there's still shit about, and I compare this to the Nipsey situation because there's still shit about the Nipsey situation that don't add up, and they arrested niggas and got the girl to admit that somebody just driving the car and all of a sudden he made her get in and drive around the court. Like a lot of that shit is weird.
But let me ask you this though.
Yeah.
Because and again, I'm just putting all the information out there so we can have a conversation. You feel me? That's all I'm doing. I'm being a moderator, right? I'm gonna let my opinion be known, of course, for sure. That's not we not gonna get away from that. But before I do, I just want to make sure that all the facts is laid out. Now, they did have information on him in terms of his background because he had actually what you would consider an extensive criminal background. There was multiple mug shots. He had been arrested multiple times for drug-related charges. Given that information, I would say the argument could be made that when someone says that information would have been brought out to discredit the witness, could it possibly be that they actually didn't bring it out because they didn't want to come off as racist?
I mean, sure. But I don't think, I don't know. I think the selectiveness of the level and the amount of facts that we get, you know what I'm saying, is all the more reason why distrust in the police is totally justified and understandable, because you don't get to make those judgment calls. You don't get to assume that we don't want them to think this, so we'll hide this piece of information. This brings us back to the Jussie Smollett events, you know what I'm saying, where we got pieces of the story and it changed every single day. And I'd rather that approach to this story where we get a whole bunch of plot turns and shit twist and shake until we shake it all out, than to not be privy to how shit develops and they get away with, well, we didn't do it like this because we didn't want public perception to be this. Do the fucking job of policing and let us come to our own conclusions and be as transparent as necessary without giving away information that won't allow you to solve the crime. But let us come to the conclusions we're going to come to. You are subject to that type of public scrutiny. And that's just what it is. You don't get to pick and choose meticulously when you get to give us the information that we think that people need to know to make sure that you're being held accountable for doing your job. Because that's what it is. They don't want they don't want accountability. They want to function. What's up?
Right, but this is a unique situation though. Right. I mean, I can't even say that. I know. I can't even do the
saying, like the desire for white people and for institutions like the police to make this a unique instance where we really have to sit back and do extra shit is a fucking lie, because we don't.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You feel me? I would. My reaction is more so along the lines of how you feel about it, and I'm definitely like, I don't trust nothing the police say. I think niggas driving 300, they said 4 hours for some weed. Come on, bro. For some pounds of weed, like, you can get that shit shipped. You can get that shit shipped from Colorado.
Trying to drive that long with no weed in their car.
You know what I'm saying? Like across state lines. That's ridiculous. No. It's like the story is just implausible. I mean, there are dumb criminals out there, yeah, but it's like and I think this leads to the next part of the conversation. It's like there's a skepticism that with niggas, it's about we don't trust nothing the police say. And in this instance, do you think that is a healthy response? Do you think that is healthy skepticism? Do you think that's valid, credible skepticism? Um, or could it actually make things a bit more explosive? You know what I mean? Does it lead to something productive? What are your thoughts?
All skepticism. Yes. Like we
No,
can't afford what you
but
like what
but we're not talking about. But we okay. There you go. Okay, you said we can't afford. Yeah, go into that explanation. That's what I was at. That's what I'm looking for.
I don't know how it was different from what I began to say and why you chose
Well,
this.
because you said because yeah, I mean, of course, skepticism is a good thing. Of course, skepticism is healthy. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is when it comes to niggas like police, institutions, structures, there's a thin line between skepticism and conspiracy.
But here's the thing. So I keep pointing at other case and points to demonstrate why the skepticism is necessary in this particular instance. And that's because if you look at the Jussie Smollett situation, right, we came out the gate with a healthy amount of skepticism about, the bullshit that happened. We were like, nah, this shit is bullshit. It was racist. We are taking Jussie's side. We're not just about to let the police wish away this incident or act like it didn't happen. We want justice. We want it now. And as the truth started to come out, niggas was like, wait a minute. This nigga might be lying. We were able to logically come to our own conclusion with a healthy amount of evidence that allowed for us to navigate our skepticisms. You know what I'm saying? So I absolutely think it is healthy and good and necessary that we be skeptical and that we demand a full narration of all the evidence, of all the information, that we be given what we can as a public, because we're not dumb. We're not as dumb as they want us to be. We're not as dumb as they want us to be or treat us like we are. So I feel like, yes, if skepticism is what allows for the truth to come out, to the point where me as another nigga can be comfortable saying, okay, that nigga was really on some foul shit, and I don't have to homogenize this instance with all the rest of them, where we know the narrative to be true, then cool. That's what they should want, is for people to use and rely on their intelligence and collective intelligence, as opposed to truncating what they're willing to give us and letting our skepticism kind of just float and fly the way it's gonna float and fly. That shit is stupid.
But again, if we're addressing the thin line between conspiracy and skepticism, at what point is either which one becomes productive, right? Like the I mean, because I'm not saying we shouldn't challenge this narrative, because I don't believe it at all. But I also think that, though, you feel me, like it's sometimes niggas is too quick to run with shit and just go in a particular direction. And especially with social media, it becomes all about the rhetoric and the narrative, and then we're dealing with something that's actually on a much larger level than that. Because then the question is, does social media have a capacity to be able to hold police accountable? Because if we're using social media outrage as the standard by which, or the how we keep the balance, or how we keep checks and balances in terms of the rest of the like actual society, social media has failed. We don't get nothing done. Hashtags and statuses don't get nothing done. Like, even the meme that I made is fucking hilarious. But
I don't know that they don't get anything done. I think,
yeah, I mean, that's hyperbolic. That's hyperbolic.
Yeah, they expand the and I there's a heavy reliance, which I think is misplaced. You know what I'm saying? That like social media is what catalyzes movements and really takes them to the next level. They're necessary in a 2019 generation, in a 21st century America, to or world, to propel a movement to the next level. Like, what are you if you haven't, teased out your hashtags and figured out who and where is having all the conversations and how to get them facilitated to put pressure on certain shit? You know what I'm saying? Like, the agenda setting theory, communication theory 101, says that a lot of time these various media outlets, don't roll your eyes at me, okay? I'm a scholar. These various media outlets are
flex your degrees.
I will. Capable of setting the agenda for us, right? By just the sheer ability to bump shit up, to make shit more important, to put a hashtag on it. You tell people what to think about, if not what to think. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are introduced to what they should care about, what they should think about, what they should be on their minds by the ability to signal boost. And boosting signals is based on shit like hashtags and putting shit on social media. So,
yeah. But let's take it to another level.
Sure.
with that being said, why do we think that these types of what we would consider, and this is a word I know you'll appreciate, counter hegemonic
Sure,
narrative,
sure.
um why do we assume that these counter hegemonic narratives that are actually what we are in control of? You feel
Which
me?
kind of
Like,
hegemonic? Like, for example,
I mean, even the idea that us sitting back, going back and forth, saying the police did this shit and all of this other shit is actually a part of the agenda of it. Like, our knee jerk reaction to respond to our distrust is something that can be used against us, possibly, because our focus then becomes these things like, oh, this police officer did this, or like, I mean, we could say like that was the situation with dude, right? But what we see with black people and what always happens to black people is when it comes to social media, we get caught like these whirlwinds of movements and statuses and shares and posts and videos and comments, and becomes the movement. That's it. And you have people that end up being on sitting on Ellen's couch or talking to Jimmy Kimmel or coming out with books or getting getting a spot in the Wall Street Journal. But beyond like that type of cultural elevation, or being able to build your status off of having a great take on the conversation, uh how is that not just more so a part of like the plan of dictating the narrative? Like, this is what we caught up on. I mean, we got an election coming up, and as much as people attempt to kind of dismiss Donald Trump for being dumb and then just he's a white president and all this, his level of lawlessness,
all right, Ben
and how
Cook,
he's
peace to
like
you,
this.
bro.
What happened?
Benjamin Cook been in the comments, kind of hollering us. I was gonna get to his comments, but yeah, we appreciate your feedback for sure.
Oh yeah, appreciate you, Benjamin. Unlike that other weirdo that was in the comments. If y'all could have seen the nigga that was in the comments. Uh but but you got Donald Trump, who's flat out, and I'm not saying these things are connected, right? But this is also a type of like how theories get circulated and shit, right? You got Donald Trump, who's pretty much dismissing every check and balance and political norm in terms of how politicians are supposed to behave in ways that's considered. And then you got what's happening in Dallas. And the narrative, the national narrative, is focused on what's happening in Dallas, and not how this lawlessness that Donald Trump is purporting, how it trickles down.
I mean, but
You
think
feel
about it
me?
though, Dominique. Like, niggas are helpless either way. So if niggas have to choose in terms of which issues they care more about, I mean, I just say on the level of the local, police is more likely to roll up on them than Donald Trump is. So they're a little bit more enthralled by this story because this is a more likely scenario where it could have been them for 1,000 different reasons. In the face of Donald Trump's new what the fuckery that he gets away with this time, that he potentially is going to be able to sidestep, that, you know what I'm saying, like commands their attention. But we didn't vote for this nigga last time and he still won. So niggas feel helpless in proximity to Donald Trump.
That's
You know what I'm
true.
saying? So, like, what am
That's
I gonna
true.
fall in love with this storyline again for? For real, from the
Yeah.
outside, if I wasn't a nigga who cared enough, I'd be like, oh, they trying to impeach him. This gonna end up the same way they did with Stormy Daniels and with grab her by the pussy and by every other conversation that he was in, all the investigation and the outcome. Like, it's just all gonna end up the same. If I'm not zooming in and really caring about the intricacies of what's playing out as a nigga, I'm gonna be like, so.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna put my attention over here on some police and shit that is at least a little bit closer to my front door. You know what I'm saying? So I
Yeah.
don't, that whole argument about the trade-off, I just think on the material and the real, ain't a nigga in the world, like, I ain't gonna say a nigga in the world, but ain't no nigga from the hood finna see it like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not
No, agreed.
that's
But
not
but that's what I'm saying. I think that, but I think that's also a part of the weakness, though. I think that can be a weakness. It can be a weakness.
certainly, but I mean, if we go to the battle of the bullet conversation where it's like I'm out here making moves in other ways anyway, I'm out here protecting and defending my community. I'm out here looking on my doorstep because I don't trust these systems, and so I'm not wasting my time with that top
Well,
level
you got to
bullshit.
be doing that. You got to be
Huh?
doing that, though. I said, but you got to be doing that, though.
You got to be
You
doing that. And
actually
that
got
was
to
the
be doing
conclusion
it.
we had in those conversations too. But I'm just saying it's a whole lot of other niggas who's just like, I'm out here looking out for me and mine and making sure we got something to eat now. We surviving and we good and whatever. I've already seen that the system ain't looking out for me or worried about me. So I'm not investing energy in the system that's finna let me down anyway. Especially when you look at shit. Don't let a nigga be at least politically astute enough to string together these misfortunes with the misfortunes of
Yeah,
Barack Obama. Like, nigga, it don't matter what side we on, we losing. When it comes to the
yeah.
president, when it comes to that top level shit, that's not our shit. I'm gonna look out for me and mine and make sure we good. This police shit is fucked up, it's wrong, and I got something to say about it. And they'll end up
So
resonating with the issue from that angle. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
yeah,
it ain't
let's
no
get to
fresh
these
off.
comments though.
That is a non-starter for niggas.
I agree, and you are so eloquent. Let's get to these comments though.
Uh, yeah.
Tiffany said social media doesn't have the capacity to do that. It's just a forum, like a way to stand on the hill and scream out our frustrations. Facts, and we feel better from it. You know what I'm saying? Like once we get that post and we see it get like 10, 15, 20 likes real quick, niggas is in
I mean,
love.
it's
You feel me?
cathartic and
Like niggas
shit.
is like,
Even the
yo,
bigger
I
picture,
feel
though.
good.
Like, I don't disagree with that, but I think Malachi's backdoored that with something that's even more real. Like, yeah, it's kind of like standing on the hill and screaming out our
Can I get to
frustrations.
Malachi's?
Malachi's
Can I
like,
get to
it's very
Malachi's?
possible the next Black Power movement and Black nationalist agendas will begin as a hashtag. And how serious is this? Case
He
in
had a
point,
comment before that.
what was the comment before that?
Me Too created mass social consciousness for women who have faced sexual violence. Black Lives Matter created a social consciousness about police violence against Black people.
And then
It's very
what I
possible
read.
that the next Black Power movement and Black nationalist agenda will begin as a hashtag.
Appreciate it. What I was gonna do is give
I would say
another
that's
example.
spoken like a true young millennial, but go ahead.
I was going to give another example to go along with the ones that he just talked about in terms of movements on an international level. When you look at the Middle Eastern and Northern African region, right, and the cries for democracy that have largely been propelled because they are in a hyper super censored government where they just can't go on the streets protesting. They don't have the right to protest or the right to what's our right, the right to collect or to commune or
To protest,
yeah, all that
to
shit.
gather. Yeah, it's the
It's
protest
a
or some
word.
shit
It's
like
a
that. Yeah,
word.
we got the right to protest.
Yeah, but they can't do that.
Yeah.
So a lot of their movements were catapulted into material reality because of social media, right? You had people like Muhammad Bazazi, a salesperson, a market person, somebody with a business or whatever, entrepreneur, had a cart selling stuff. The regimes there were so oppressive, wouldn't let him make no money. He set himself on fire. That shit took off. He got you know what I'm saying? Like people got arrested, a lot of people thrown in jail. His mother ended up being the pilot of the movement. Yes, freedom to
Assembly. There you go,
I could
Malachi.
not think of that word. Freedom to assemble. But
Yeah.
movement after movement, Me Too, Black Lives Matter, the shifts and calls for democracy over in Middle East and Northern Africa, 1,000 other movements we not naming right now. Flint got so much water bottles they had to start telling niggas to quit sending plastic. They got so much water that we ain't got nowhere to put that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
These hurricanes and shit pop off and they get billions of dollars overnight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and I'm not completely dismissing or denying the capability of social media, but but I also think that that's why it needs to be guided. It needs to be, it needs to have a discernment. I know we hear that more when it comes to the Bible and shit, but we need we need to be able to look at certain shit and be like, is this what we need to run with, or is this something that is there's just another distraction? But I will say this: I don't think this in particular is that. I think this is definitely an instance of like being reminded of like being in a police state as a Black person. You feel me? White people don't feel like they in that type of situation because it it's their I mean it's their comfortability that's being protected.
yeah.
So when this type of shit happen, it's like it don't really matter. But to us, it's like that could be me. The police could want me killed for speaking out. Like,
Man.
and then the question becomes, was bruh martyred? Did he get martyred? Did he put himself in a position where it was like, it wasn't no coming back from that?
I mean,
You
I
feel
think
me? Like
police chose their narrative, so we won't ever know unless some other nigga finds the ability to what they call it, whistle, snitch,
whistleblow.
Whistle blow. I don't.
Whistleblower.
Listen. My brain is tired, y'all. I'm weary. Unless somebody get the boldest
Whistleblower.
blow, which then runs the risk of them being assassinated. You know what I'm saying? Like, are we ever gonna get to the bottom of this? They chosen their narrative, which is the nigga was a drug dealer. He died being dirty in the streets. Rip. It's a shame.
You
R.I.P.
know,
Whatever. That's the story we got now. It's the version they're gonna stick to too. Watch it not change.
yeah, and we'll wrap it up with Malachi's last two comments. He said social media is a tool, but unfortunately, tech companies are the only ones who control and regulate it. Certain messages can be banned or filtered, especially on Facebook. And that's
Look,
something
I
we
literally
definitely
know
see.
somebody whose job it is to sit on with a queue with all the shit that get reported, that all the shit that pop up, and their job is to say where they can stay or go. I literally know somebody who pushed the buttons. That is not a lie.
Oh shit, connected in high places. But yeah, man, let us know y'all thoughts. Go to the page. Go to the Chop Up on Facebook. Go to the Chop Up Show on Instagram.
Definitely.
And then go to the Chop Up Show on YouTube. Comment, like, share, subscribe, do all of that shit. You feel me? But let us know y'all thoughts. Is this some shit y'all believe in? Let's keep the conversation going. Cause it's gonna be interesting to see what come out. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
As especially, with the way that it's developing. So it is what it is. Let's go on to that next chop. What we got coming up to you?
All right. So the next chop is, I don't know if we even called Joe Chop anything, but we're gonna call this chop the social chop. And that is because I want to talk about like mental health. And we've had similar conversations to mental health, but I think right now is an interesting time to talk about mental health, largely because of the changes in the seasons, right? I'm definitely having a lot of people. I'm a professor, right, by nature, and I always joke about with myself about when I'm gonna get my first tears. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the fall semester, when it gets earlier, quicker, a lot of things are changing, the environment is changing, on top of just the reality of life and how niggas be struggling a little bit. These kids be out here struggling. They trying to work and take care of their families, and sisters and brothers and mamas and daddies got terminal. Like, I've heard it all. And so I got, my first tears of the semester 3 weeks in. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, okay, they've arrived. The tears of the semester.
Beginning of the semester.
Exactly. And by the way, it don't matter. Gay, straight, man, woman, non-binary, big as hell, little itty bitty, senior in college, first semester, like, they all come to you with the boohoos, right? So it's been a lot going on, and just people also in my circle and in my life going through it. And so thinking about seasonal affective disorder, which, if you're not familiar with that acronym, is SAD, and speaks directly to the changes that people experiences in their moods as a result of losses in daylight. Like, there's a relationship between a light that's literally outside and how people start to feel around this time of the year, but more broadly, just mental health in general. Wanted to just kind of start a conversation about how we feeling. You know what I'm saying? In so many words, like, what's good and how do we navigate our feelings and how do we think about that shit? Do you, Dominique, experience a change in your mood, or just is there or like a heavier feeling that happens to you when the seasons change? Maybe it's not like directly sad or, even a specific depression like proper, but does your mood change with the weather? Do you get happier when the sun comes out?
Yes, I definitely suffer from seasonal depression for sure. Like, it's bad for your boy. Like, especially when I lived in like Oklahoma or when I lived in Kansas City. It really when I lived anywhere cold. I think being in California was like the best thing for a nigga, because being like dealing with snow and cold and gray, that should get to a nigga's spirit, man. There ain't nothing like seeing green grass and yellow and purple and red flowers and blue skies, and like that shit just it put you in a better mood. Like looking outside and just seeing sun and just niceness and fluffy clouds and all of that type of shit. You feel
I mean,
me?
I definitely
That's
think, my bad. I was cutting you off.
no, yeah. I
We
mean, shit. I was getting
Like,
redundant, but yeah,
we left our shit and moved to California. So
abandoned,
nigga, like,
because it was like I couldn't do it. Yeah,
it gets darker earlier here, just like it does everywhere else. But besides that, like, when the sun is out, it's green and palm trees and
because look, you could fuck around and have like a 75, 77-degree week in December.
my nigga, and be good. I think I was.
I mean, and to be clear, we live in Southern California,
Yeah.
so we have December beach days.
Like I was legit about to say, I don't really, in proximity to sad, I don't really, but I think it's because I moved. Like I got away from the cold gray, like it's just dark. You know what I mean? Like it's just dark. Like I just want to go home and get to my
But
dark. But
in February though, in Feb, but I will say, like, as it pertains to being here, so what they have is actually called June gloom.
mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's
Very, very
where
real.
everybody, after everybody else goes through their spring where it rains a lot, California don't get none of that shit. Like it just get real cloudy and kind of cool in June.
That was
Cause like we
weird for
actually
me.
just started getting like 80, 90-degree weather. Like we started getting that shit at the beginning of August. Like, are we just now getting hit with? I mean, I know I got something warmer on because it's starting to cool down now, but yeah, it wasn't really burning up like that out here. So I think it's definitely something that we escaped, but it was really something that I dealt with in Oklahoma for sure, for sure. Like when I was in school, um, just having to deal with that cold, man, was just something different. It was
I don't know. Well, that June gloom shit gets me, and where it messes me up is, and I think that I think that's where the seasons mess me up. When everybody else is getting all sunny and stuff like that, and they kind of coming out of it, and we not out of it yet. I'm like, this is terrible. Like, I'm looking up Houston, I'm looking up New Orleans, I'm looking up all these Atlanta, all these places that's 75, 80 degrees. Yeah, the Bay is a different beast. We don't really.
the Bay is. I've actually never been in the Bay and been warm.
I've been in the Bay in July and for a week. And do you know what the weather was for that week? The highs were
Like 60.
57, 58, 59
That's silly.
in the middle of July. I was
The
like,
Bay ain't California.
hell. It's not.
I don't want to be disrespectful. But still, like that's wild. Like you in Cali, you think
The biggest lie I ever
sunshine
told.
and but see, it's because when we think Cali, you think Southern California, you think LA and everything
It's
else.
not
Where
like
we
that
at?
up there, y'all. Come down here if you want the
Toya
don't
live,
go up there.
yeah, because you go around Toya, you can go to Disneyland and everything else. But in terms of mental health though, do you think that niggas do enough of like trying to understand that to be able to navigate it a better way? Because I think that's something that could just sneak up on a nigga. Next thing you know, you just in a bad fucking mood. You become more susceptible to depression and that type of shit, right?
Ask the question one more time. Do I
The
think
question that I asked is, do niggas navigate it properly? Do you think niggas
like mental health
navigate
in general?
seasonal depression? Nah, like
I don't think
the seasonal depression properly.
no. I mean I don't I can't say niggas writ large, but I feel like a lot more intentional work should be done.
Well, when I say niggas, I mean people, just
Got
people.
you. So no. Still my answer is no. And that's because I don't think people account for the changes. They just kind of let it happen. You know what I'm saying? And so like not really negotiating, I think a new routine or a new way of doing business or being excited or engaged in certain things as the seasons change is always going to set you back a little bit. And I mean, to an extent, it's almost only so much you can do because the sun is the sun. Like it is our biggest light. And so when it's gone, the void that you feel can only be be compensated for so much. I wish I would have done more research on how people with SAD kind of deal with those types of issues so that I can know how they reconcile that shit. But Tiffany, for example, was like, what did she say? I like all 4 seasons. The cold or fall months almost feel like a mental reset. And so I love that. And that's
tripping.
a way to look at it.
That's a good way to look at it. But I mean, shit, for me, it's just like I don't like being cold.
Period.
So you put you feel me? Like I just so
bro,
for me it's
Harvard.
like
I'm going to Harvard in a couple weeks, and my most vivid memories of walking around Cambridge, Massachusetts, is looking at everybody like, why don't nobody look like they want to be here? Like everybody, y'all live here. I don't want to be
you on Harvard campus. You around prestige, and you just all you can think is like, let me get into the next fucking building, please. Straight up, Donnie. The code sucks.
But let me see. Malachi says mental health providers aren't even up on how mental health works. I don't expect most people to be knowledgeable enough to navigate how their mental health is affected. Agree 1000%. And I also agree when he said earlier that the mental health industry is complete ass. Wasn't really gonna spend a whole lot of time talking about that, but that is a huge misconception when conversations are had about mental health, that somebody's telling you to check yourself into a hospital, or that everybody needs to be clinicized in order to be legitimate, or that doctors' offices, like, they do some wild shit, man, to people.
Yeah,
I heard an interesting story over the summer where a homie of mine ended up in mandatory 48-hour holds, like, because of just wild shit that it's just like literally just
but you,
gaps and lapses in the system.
but I think the when we talk about like when we talk about this shit, the focus shouldn't be on the system because an over reliance on the system is what causes these problems in the first
Yeah,
place.
but without it, with the system is what, at least in the context of mental health, is providing legitimacy right now for a lot of people, and that's the slippery slope they're in, and kind of the impasse that niggas are at. Like, you need the mental health industry to correct itself and function how it's supposed to, because with that, niggas don't get their pills, they don't get their meds, they don't get their letters, they don't get their access to certain resources, they don't get certain shit. And so you have to, I won't say have to, but there are components of your ability to be successive and to navigate systems that necessitate that you be on somebody's register as somebody with a mental imposition. It just fucking sucks because those same systems prey on you. They over essentialize the experiences of some people because mental illnesses by nature are unpredictable. They assume you can streamline that shit, which means, you know, a variety of ways that they can suck you into those systems and never let you go. Niggas are literally being kidnapped. They coming in needing help and being told that they can't ever go back home again, that they're dangerous to themselves and others. When that's so, just the way that shit is diagnosed, you know, and navigated, ass. But it's
Yeah,
like, how do
yeah,
you?
but and that's why and that's why I say the legitimacy needs to be less with the actual structures and the systems, and more with how we as people and communities deal and cope with shit. Because I mean, the focus of the industries and providers, their focus is profit. You feel me? Like that's why when we talk about it ain't no, when we talk about any type of healthcare industry, this it's always the same. There is no there's no money in the cure, right? It's only you only get paid with the treatment. So if we're looking at the healthcare industry and saying healthcare industry provide us with the proper mental health institutions and the mental and the proper uh mental health oversight and everything else, and think that and knowing how complicated and expensive that could possibly be to do shit right, because we know it costs money to do shit the right way.
Mm-hmm,
You feel me?
mm-hmm.
That is an unreasonable expectation. Not saying that that we're unfair for applying that expectation, but we setting ourselves up for failure for assuming we have actually fixing people, you know what I'm saying, or helping people maintain at their best, at be their number one interest. You feel me?
I mean, 1000%. That's why a lot of people attribute things like meditation, things like, I mean, definitely still having meds, but coupling that with all types of other holistic treatments, changes in diet, like really thinking more about what they put into their bodies in the first place is a more realistic and reasonable way to navigate mental health as a thing. And I mean, I think it's absolutely necessary. I just know for a fact that I've talked to people who, experientially are willing to do all of these homeopathic, external to institutions or clinicism proper treatments. But when it's all said and done, their prescriptions are what make them feel right and whole. You know what I'm saying? And this is even in a world of
Yeah,
misdiagnoses and over medicating and all types of shit. My brother, in and of himself, you know what I'm saying, has navigated a lot of misalignments with dosages and this, that, and the other. And it's been a process where he's had to go
yeah.
through episodes in order to get the right dose. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I mean. Like, as much as I don't know, because I mean, I'm by the
I mean, it's
historical.
complicated. It's
It,
complicated
it is.
because what's
You know what I'm saying? For the
needed
same reasons,
in
I think niggas need better access to healthcare, but then the healthcare system has also been the demise of niggas, from everything from pseudoscience that said we weren't even human to, Tuskegee today. Like, so it's always like this double
right
line.
experiments, all of that shit.
It's
Yeah,
always
it's always some crazy shit. Right, and that's why I will go right back to saying that we should not be relying on these industries to explain to us and break the shit down. I mean, because when I talk about representation in terms of politics, I mean that I think in general representation is key. Like if we don't have people that come from our communities that dealt with what we dealt with, that become psychiatrists, that become psychologists, that you know what I'm saying, that become sociologists, that become the type of people that become doctors, that walk people through these processes. If you don't understand the drama that, or not the drama, the trauma that created it, right? The impact of that trauma, the cultural or the I don't want to necessarily say cultural, but the the mental health impact of particular ethnic communities, like the mental health of being of black communities, the mental health of Latinx communities, because it's not the same. Like what niggas dealing with the police, what Latinx people are dealing with, motherfucking ICE. You feel me? Even with what white people deal with in they psychoness. You know what I'm saying? It's all requires a more unique understanding. And
Right.
when you got white people attempting to understand, the black perception of the world through a book, you definitely not gonna get the right practices that's gonna produce any type of results. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I mean, you know, I believe in having our own institutions. Like you said, you brought up Malcolm X, the Ballot and the Bullet. Like the whole idea of niggas think black nationalism is about, being militant and all this other shit, but it's literally black people being able to have industries of their own and not having to like white people in the United States don't have to reach out to other people or other groups. I mean, they do, but they don't need to. They could just reach out to other white people to get the shit that they need. Niggas don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And we could look at that from an economic perspective when it comes to business, but you can also look at it from a perspective that's coming from the sciences, that's coming from the medical industry. You know what I'm saying? Not having the people who understand the conditions that shape who black people are. That shit is important. It's unique. You feel me?
So I mean,
And its impact can't be understated.
let me ask you this then. Therapy. Good, bad, your experiences with it, suggested black people in therapy with white people, like feelings, thoughts, reflections, and this is definitely important for the people in the chat to chime in on. What have your experiences with therapy been, knowing that a lot of it should and needs to be curated for people of color by people of color?
I think therapy is if it worked for you, like I think we should all utilize what's available. We shouldn't just completely dismiss anything off of some principle. Um, if it's something that we think we could benefit from, give it a shot. But like we was talking about earlier with skepticism. The reason why I took the stance I did on that conversation is because I'm a skeptic at heart. I don't believe shit nobody say, and I'm definitely not gonna believe some white person sitting there telling me about how I think about the world and trying to frame it. Whatever. It's just it just wouldn't sit right with me. I would have to have a black a black, what is it, psychiatrist,
Yeah.
um or therapist, whatever. The person the person that I'm sitting there talking to, that person has to be a black person. They would have to be. Yeah, they would have to be. They would have to be. Because it's a level of comfortability that I would get with a black person that I wouldn't get with a white person.
So, yeah, right. I have been in therapy situations mostly when I was in undergrad. By the way, if you are an undergraduate student or a graduate student at an institution that you pay your money to, chances are they have free counseling services. So explore those, look into them, take what we say, and go find yourself, if it fits for you, a black psychologist or a counselor or therapist or one of color, or don't. But go and seek the help that you need while it's free to you, right? While accessibility is a thing, while you're paying for it every semester. I just want to really lean in and urge people to go
All
use
that damn money you paying on that
free
shit,
resources.
man.
Like, y'all don't go to the gym. And this is me speaking to myself. You don't go to the gym. You don't go to the damn library enough. You don't take your ass to go to therapy when it's available to you and it's free. And then you have to find out about these things the hard ways when you crunching and trying to milk the benefit out of them as opposed to them being there. So that's my PSA and my commercial for you is go see what your money has afforded you and take advantage of that shit while you on them campuses. Because once you leave, therapy is expensive.
Yeah.
It's hard to find. And hard to, I'd rather cycle through 6 therapists that are just on my campus waiting for me to come in and make an appointment that have to get online and sift through the millions of therapists that are in your area. Like, I tried to look into therapy at the beginning of this year in the LA area and in the Orange County area. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to look at LA. I'm looking Orange County. Neither of those helped. Just literally swallowed up by all the posts and all the potential places to look for and go. And so take advantage of what you're paying for. That being said, I absolutely see the importance of, receiving Black therapy. And I'm not even wanting to be a dissenting voice in that, but I've also heard perspectives, from people who have had Black therapists that assume that the lack of objectivity and the fact that niggas feel like they know niggas more and better takes away their objectivity too. And so a lot of their advice or a lot of what they think they know about their clients is tempered with being Black. And so then they kind of over essentialize for Blackness, right? They over assume they know them. And so there's no separation. It's like, you my cousin, you my kin, we are similar in ways. And so I'm about to over account for that by assuming I know more about your experience than you. Whereas I've, from my experience, had white therapists who have put in their shit. And I had to wonder if it was pathologizing or why you want to talk to niggas so bad, but specified, that African American clients, right? You know what I'm saying? Specify those things the same way they do for LGBTQ, the same way they say we specialize in these types of people. We want to see these types of people. I've had therapists straight out come out and be like, I'm a white person who does well counseling niggas. And so what do you mean by transference, Malachi? To elaborate on that a little bit more. What do you feel about that particular positionality? Are your skin folk ain't necessarily or don't need to be your kin folk in certain instances, right? If you're going to turn it into a buddy session as opposed to being this unbiased listener who is taking in what I'm through and clinicizing it appropriately, I don't need you to use your nigga filter all the time. Sometimes I need you to use my doctor therapist filter. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Chiming in with from an auntie perspective, and I don't need that. I just want my shit to be more directly and more
right. I need that professionalism.
You know what I'm saying? And so I've heard kind of both, where it's just the lines between that, because therapists want to be like, you Black, I'm Black, I got you. It ends up overcompensating and kind of jumping over some boundaries to where that separation. Because I tell you from experience with therapy, one of the most liberating feelings is knowing you coming in talking to a complete stranger who has context for what you're talking about, the situation, your perspective, all of those things, but not so much that you think you have that firsthand experience that speaks to what I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? Kind of zoom out and let me take the lead on explaining my shit.
Yeah, nah, I definitely understand that. I mean, and that kind of tabula rasa, you're a therapist, so I'm gonna talk to you like a therapist, so I'm gonna utilize it. And from a professional standpoint, that's also something that could be appreciated and something that shouldn't be undervalued. I could appreciate that as well. But I guess the last thing I'll say on it is I try to, because I'm aware that when it gets to these times of the year that I change and that it's easier for me to get in a fucking mood, I'm weary of that shit. I pay attention to it. I make sure to watch my actions. I make sure that I'm not lashing out doing silly shit like that. You feel me? But I also consider myself somebody who I kind of understand myself to an extent to where I can have those conversations. That self-awareness of being able to be like, all right, nigga, you need to chill. You ain't got no son. That's why you fucking mad. Calm down. It's gonna be okay. You got some months. You know what I'm saying? So
but are you because I'm in relationship to the therapy conversation, I'm trying to figure out what does that mean for your aptitude to seek out therapy? What does that mean for you to go and find a therapist that is a white therapist or somebody who doesn't have similar experiences than you as you?
Well, that's why I said that's why I was saying I feel like the conversations I have with myself flush out a lot of what I feel like a therapist would flesh out. Um,
Interesting. So, better question then. So, are you saying you would not go to therapy? That you don't see yourself in that type of
no,
situation?
I'm not saying I'm
Therapy?
not saying I wouldn't. I'm not saying I wouldn't.
Let me ask the question for me.
I just
Would you seek out therapy?
yeah.
Is there a world where you like that is a good, similar to any other type of specialist that deals with my body or my wellness or whatever? That would be a worthwhile track or path for me to go down. Should it be necessary? The same way I would go to an orthopedic doctor or go to a dermatologist, or would you go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist for therapy?
Uh,
Why or why not?
I would. I would. I mean, it would have to be something that's convenient. I wouldn't like be like, yo, I gotta sit down with somebody to talk to. Um,
Why?
so it's like
Why don't you see yourself being able to say things like that?
because I think that because it's like I said, it's the conversations that I have. Ooh, shit. It's the conversations I have with myself. You feel me? Like I feel like I don't like if I'm overindulging, it's something that I could recognize. If I'm underindulging or if I'm being too hard on myself, it's something I could recognize. If I need to take a step back and analyze, I can do that. I don't I mean I have vices, but I don't feel like I have the type of vices that would cause me that I jump to my vices when I'm frustrated or when I'm dealing with something. So it wouldn't be something where I was like, yo, I need to, you know, have this person to talk to, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna be fucked up. Where I would, like I said, like at a point wouldn't mind having a conversation is having somebody studied and learn like that to help me understand certain things about myself that I really ain't been able to figure out or like put put a finger on. You feel me? Like certain phobias and fears, certain weird, you know what I'm saying, like anxiety attacks that like I don't really know where they come from, but it happens. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of shit. But it's something that like I would want to understand from a deeper perspective, but not something to where it's like it's an imperative in order for me to be like be straight.
Interesting. Very, very
Yeah.
interesting. Never say never is what I'll suggest to you.
Yeah, I'm self-reflexive. I'm good.
Uh, sure.
And then
Um,
a lot of the shit that I don't understand too, I just embrace. Like fuck it. Like
never
like
say never is what I want to encourage.
cause now here the nigga coming out. See, I tried to stay all practical and cool and shit, but the nigga coming out now because who the fuck is this person? Right? Like who the fuck is, you know what I mean, whoever that's about to pull out this fucking notepad and
I mean, but
lump me in. No, hold on, it's coming, it's coming. Because I tried to keep it in. I tried to be uh I don't know. I tried to be cool, but who the fuck is this person? Like, I mean, black people, yeah, I give them a little bit more credibility because it's easier just to talk to black people in general. And I think that's why I was saying I would prefer a black therapist just because it'd just be easier to talk to. A lot of the no code switching. They understand a lot of shit. Tiffany said
I mean, that's why I'm
that's a
like, I'm trying to get to
stereotype
the
though.
point where you are not making a caricature of like therapy and of psychiatrists and psychologists and what they do, because it's very
I
much
mean,
like this person just pulls out a blank page in a notebook and clicks a pen and is like, "Talk, let me psychoanalyze you real quick." Like that.
yeah, but it's like, but I also think like it's a personal level of certain shit that I feel like you. All right, to nuance it a little bit to where it's not just a caricature. I feel like I'm giving someone else too much editing power to my psyche, and it's something that I could be. It's something that I need. It could be something that I need to understand about myself. That means one thing, but this third party comes in and tell me that it means X based off of their experience, and that could be wrong.
I don't think therapists do a lot, and they help you. They help you come to conclusions about your shit. They allow for you to kind of engage in affirmations about what you were figuring about yourself or trying to figure out about yourself. But I also think it's a huge misconception that you go in like, because sometimes you are diagnosed with things because there is a way to clinicize those things. But what I'm talking about in terms of therapy and not straight up psychiatry
Yeah, we
is
talking about therapy. Yeah,
you talking through shit to where you like, you say something, you like, oh damn, like their job is to get you to understand, to see, to change perception, to identify shit. Like their job is not to be like, so that makes you tripping, right? Or you know what I'm saying? Like I don't necessarily know that is their task or their job. I've never been in a therapy session that's like, I've heard enough for the last 30 minutes. You talked about this, and this is my conclusion on what your issue is. I've only ever been in experiences that are like, okay, so what I think you should do is maybe explore and come to conclusive statements. Like you come to conclusive statements about why you feel about this. But here's some things you should consider. This, and that. And this. So I'm not going to make you take nothing, but here's a way to kind of paint some of what you see so that you are not so narrow or monolithically looking at this thing that you can't account for some other possibilities.
No, I mean, I don't think that what I was saying was trying to. Well, I didn't mean to paint it as like this monolithic understanding of this is what therapy is.
Well, no, I'm saying
that's
fear,
my concern. That's my concern.
Your concern is that somebody looks at you and says, Damo, you have been thinking like this. You know yourself better than anybody else, or so you think. But now that I've heard your situations and the specificity of your issue, here's another component of your psyche, or here's what you really doing, or here's who you really are that you haven't thought about yet. And I just don't think that is the goal, purpose, intention, or deployment of a lot.
I mean, yeah, but it's just like
go to see it.
It's just like like it's every doctor's job to save a life, but you got some shitty doctors. And you got some doctors who let motherfuckers die or don't do their job properly or aren't as qualified as they think they are. Sure. And this is why I'm skeptical of skepticism. Even when we was talking about the earlier topic, it's just that the worst case scenario, right? Like that's where my mind goes to. My mind goes. Tiffany said, so to sum up, Damo, you're mentally private and don't trust people. I really don't.
Thank you,
I really don't.
Thank you, Tiffany.
I really don't. I have trust issues like a motherfucker. Like I trust my wife, I trust my family, but like, I mean, I trust Toya. But I trust her so far though, because like Toya could be sneaky.
When?
But see, that's something a sneaky person would say.
Be on the internet. That's all I'm saying.
But yes, I am more private. I'm more bottled. I don't trust people. I don't want a nigga in my mind. I don't.
Yeah. The truth comes out. Dominique specifically, there's nothing wrong with the field writ large. Dominique specifically just don't want a nigga in his mind pushing no buttons or moving around.
I don't. I don't. I don't.
Yeah, I don't. What
I was gonna say something that really didn't matter. Like I was gonna say something about their life. Like I was gonna be like, what if he all fucked up? Like, he do shit, you know what I'm saying, that we don't know. But that's people though, and that's unfair.
Exactly.
Like just because you was, that's why I stopped myself. See, you see how I can do that?
I'm impressed.
I got a fast brain. Like I think through a whole bunch of shit real quick, and I come to quick decisions. You feel me? Let's get to these comments.
Definitely have trust issues too. Not sure if it's an issue to be real. Feels pretty reasonable considering reality. Yeah, I mean, people are fucking shady characters, and but I think that's what makes me feel better about dealing with shady characters that don't have as much info, because I feel like more exposed if somebody I'm too common with knows my shit. Like, damn, like somebody who's kind of a friend to me. Like, but if it's very clear, patient, like my therapist on campus, Emporia State University is not that big. When I tell you, at first I was offended by how this bitch used to walk past me, like, you're not gonna speak or not, but the level of confidentiality, the level of detachment that these people have,
right? Because it's like you ain't even spot. You don't even want. I don't even want people to know that you know.
And that's like that. Exactly. And because at first I was like, why you gonna act like I didn't sit in there and just cry to you and give my whole life and soul to you 2 days ago?
Yeah, nah. Look, after all the shit you just told me, I wouldn't want to look at you in public either.
That's part of it. You know what I'm saying? You know too much of my business. So I can't look me in the eye right now. But the other side of it is to protect you, out of protection of you and your business and your rights and FERPA and all types of other shit. HIPAA, not FERPA. HIPAA. Yeah. Right? I also just need to pretend like I don't know anything about your real life unless I'm sure you initiate those things, or you know what I'm saying, and then they can respond accordingly or whatever. Yeah. But but you don't need to be potentially blackballed or stigmatized in your friend group for going to therapy. You know what I'm saying? So that's a sticky subject already. people make
Yeah.
distance or space within it. And so, I mean, I get
Well,
it.
but let me ask you this though. So, what do you think about this new and Mark? Hey, I think people that do, you feel me, that sit down and can talk to them people and can get past them issues, like them type of trust issues, y'all brave folk. Y'all brave folk. And I'm a talkative ass nigga. I share shit with people that I don't really know when it comes to certain shit. But when it comes to like yeah, like that's just a level too deep. That
Yeah.
I'm that too deep that I'm comfortable with right now. Who knows? But what do y'all think about the new shit where you could like text a therapist? Like it's like Uber for therapists now.
What was it, Squarespace? I definitely know one of the platforms.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Um, Malachi says, why y'all answer that question? Malachi says, I would say the average licensed therapist is unqualified for more serious problems. Like if you have a problem with binge drinking or some serious trauma, a regular talk therapist might not be helpful. Definitely somebody who is more experienced or seasoned in certain types of traumas and issues. I mean, and here's the thing. I'll share with you one of the conflicts I have with mental health and endorsing like therapy, knowing how expensive it is and how inaccessible it is, but also understanding that therapy as a craft, it takes a special type of person to take the shit that people dump on you and walk away. You know what I'm saying? Like as a professor, I always laugh and say I'm in a dual role. Me and a colleague of mine were laughing today about the student tears. And I'm like, nigga, we are professional bullshit spotters. We're professors. We are negotiators. We are
Yeah.
psychiatrists. We are psychologists. I didn't pay people's bills and tuitions and shit, and I'll do it 1,000 times over again. But I'm a banker and an accountant and all types of shit. You know what I'm saying? So like the burden on like how I leave and how I walk out of my office sometimes it be heavy, and I can only imagine. You know what I'm saying? Like I wish we could pay therapists. I wish they got paid more money than they do. At least the ones that, you know what I'm saying, like are on a sliding scale. Like I wish that was a more legitimized and celebrated field because it does not take the average Joe or the average person to be able to take on other people's issues. That shit gets heavy. Like say I think people in clergy, like clergy people in ministry,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they talk about it all the time. Like they just get the worst of everybody's everything. And they got to walk around and have lives too and be positive too. So it's really hard because this is an expensive industry. And I feel like the people who run it and who participate in it deserve more. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I mean, the access to therapy is just not there. So it's kind of hard to tell people who are dealing with something you should go to therapy because I mean, shit, in a lot of ways, I can't afford it. Not for real, for real. Not and still keep the same quality. Like there's gonna be automatic trade offs and sometimes deep trade offs because therapy is expensive. So I think a lot about that back and forth. Like I want to tell people to go get more therapy, but real niggas can't. Like a lot of niggas can't afford it, and
Yeah.
they can't afford it.
I
But at
mean,
the same time, it shouldn't be cheap because the work that and the emotional labor these people do is that immense. You know what I'm saying? And so it's a weird
here Toya go. Here Toya go with that nuance.
it, somewhere we stuck in the middle, you know what I'm saying, of this thing we're trying to develop and move forward in with mental health. But I want to ask this question as we kind of close this out and get done. Because you talked a lot about, not going to therapy or not, pivoting toward that direction for whatever reasons, and that yourself. You have knowledge of self, you have understanding of self, you know how to recognize issues and get yourself back on track. So what are some of your methods of Dominique is in crisis, Dominique is feeling some things, going through some things? What is your tactic of self-care? And then I want to go back to
Uh,
Frank's answer to the question we asked a minute ago.
so I mean, this may sound weird, but I just go through this thing where I just look for anything that I could appreciate,
Hmm.
like anything that I could just be like, I'm good. You feel me? Like, and it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. It's a struggle. Sometimes I'm break down. I mean, and really, if it go that far, I call my wife or something. But it's more so I just go. I start. I go because I when I go through those type of anxiety, you know what I'm saying, Fitz.
Mm-hmm.
It's always like even right now, like I can quickly come start thinking about the worst case scenario. So what I do is I kind of start walking myself back from that, like telling myself, "You tripping? You feel me? Like you really tripping. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you know, yeah, this may be bad, but look at this, look at this, look at this. And once I kind of get away from like a all like that all is lost feeling, I can navigate it from there. But it starts with me really start just being more aware, not letting myself get lost in this one issue. Like,
Mm.
so this is what's fucking me up right now. I'm not gonna get lost in just that.
And then
I try
after,
to, yeah.
go ahead.
Nah, and then I try to keep my hand in a few different pots, because then it's like, all right, let me put myself into something productive. Like, let me read, or let me, you know what I'm saying, let me just sit and watch the news real quick. Let me develop an analysis. But Tiffany said that's almost like
On
sweeping
your
it
head.
under the rug,
On
like
your
a
head.
temporary fix, a band-aid on the issue instead of surgery. Oh, but see, what if it don't need surgery, right? What if it just need a band-aid? What if it just hurt a little bit? Like, hurt a little bit right now?
I mean, and I'll say that, and that I don't know, because I don't want to be too overly direct with this statement, but I watch a lot of Grays, and one of the
Ah,
phenomena. No, but what I'm saying, in agreement with what you're saying, one of the most interesting phenomena is when they make decisions on what does or doesn't need surgery, right? When they have to, as people who are trained to cut into people, make decisions about when it's not time to cut, when it's time to take other processes or other paths to
mm,
healing or providing treatment. You know what I'm saying? So I think there is a little bit of balance in both ways. Like, I mean, in both of y'all's comments and statements, you know what I'm saying? Like, Tiffany's absolutely correct. If the same thing that forces you into this moment of separating it from everything else is the same thing, then you're not dealing with it handling certain shit. And you have to be honest with yourself about that. The tumor is not as benign as you thought. It is absolutely malignant, and it's starting to stretch and
right.
expand. You know what I'm saying? It's toxic for you, and you need to deal with it straight up and, on its face. But some of life's shit that it just throws at us, you know what I'm saying? That can really knock you off your square. You do
Yeah,
have to be able to separate that as like, this is temporary, this is inconvenient, this is a struggle for me, but it's not. And I'm gonna put a pin in what I'm about to say, but the whole notion that it's not as bad as it could be, ends up being a place of solace that you have to go to sometimes, because you got to recognize that shit is bad, but other possible scenarios that you have to kind of navigate or deal with. Um, I want to go back up because I can talk about.
but I say, I'm gonna say that I'll say this to that real quick. I think that Gray's analogy was actually better than I thought it was.
Thank you. You tried to set
It
me up
was better than I thought it was
out.
gonna be. And uh, yeah, yeah. I don't know.
And
I ain't never felt like I'm also a spiritual person though. I ain't super religious, but I'm a spiritual person. And so even though, that's a cliche statement, um, but I mean it's honest, because it's like, you know, I pray. You
mhm,
feel me? And that's not to, in yeah, yeah, and I know it come with shit like that when niggas say shit like that, but it's like it helped me. You feel me? Like, that's one thing that kind, and also thinking of it as bigger outside of myself.
mhm,
Like, I think about, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of people going through what I'm going through, experiencing what I'm experiencing, and it's people that's going through it worse. You feel me? Like, and it's easy for me to get caught up in myself and say that, what I'm dealing with right now is just this all encompassing thing. When, reality says otherwise, and I
mhm,
know it, I see it. I got loved ones and experiencing it, all of that. So, you know, and it may just be I'm in a place in life where I have I have the comfortability and the luxuries or whatever that allows me to. And spirituality does have an amazing placebo effect on mental health.
mhm.
It's a wonderful feeling, because regardless of what you think about spirituality or religion or whatever, the calmness that a nigga get from it can't be denied. Um, but yeah, I just try not to get caught up in myself, and yeah, that's why I don't
Right
need no
on.
therapist. And keep that shit.
Your insistence of that is just you have to stop. Um, but I do want to get to because I think this almost, and this is why I'm comfortable making this connection between text therapy and kind of getting therapy in alternative ways and alternative paths and self care. Mark says texting could be a helpful form of therapy for some people, especially in this day and age where so many people are more comfortable texting than talking. It can be a lot easier to text things than to say things for a lot of people, especially folks who grew up with smartphones. It has its drawbacks, and I would imagine though, we all know how texting can result in miscommunication. Sometimes there are some things lost, and that's what my biggest fear was because I thought about Talkspace too, right? I was like, I'm gonna just instead of paying to go to a therapist or whatever, I'm gonna just kind of connect to somebody and bring somebody into the loop. But a lot of this stuff is gonna have to go through me, and I thought about how much compassion I needed, how much sympathy I needed, empathy I needed, and how I probably wasn't gonna get that via a message. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe a little bit here or there, but like when I look for validation, if I'm looking for affirmation, like it's something in somebody's voice. The sincerity of I feel you, I understand that you're not tripping, that what I'm saying, like that what you are explaining is something familiar to me. Like you can type that and say that shit, but you're still gonna be a level, and what we call in communication study is paralanguage. You know what I'm saying? Not the words that you're saying, not the actual things you're saying, but how you saying and the pace and the tone and a lot of the volume and the level of interrogation and active listening. And are you nodding while I'm talking? And those are things that you just don't get via a text message,
Let me
which is why
stop nodding.
it makes it kind of weird. You said what?
I said, let me stop nodding.
No,
I'm
we
just
need that.
nodding my ass
That's good.
up.
That's called
Oh, that's a
feedback.
good thing.
Feedback is
Shit.
important. It's an important part of the communication.
I tell people I'm a good listener.
Be lying.
Yeah.
Lord.
I mean, listen, I can't help it. I'm not gonna toot my own horn like that. I'm not about to do. You know what I was about to do. I ain't gonna do that though. I ain't gonna do that though. But go ahead and put a bow in it though. Let the people let the people know what we should in terms of what you want them to leave with when it comes to this mental health conversation. Moving into the colder, darker, you know what I'm saying, times of the year.
Tip of the iceberg conversation, especially from my perspective. But because there's so much more that needs to be said about this. But I think my biggest takeaway from this conversation is to learn yourself in these moments. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of falling down a rabbit hole of I don't know what's frustrating me, I don't know why I'm so angry or down. Oh, it's just the environment and the weather, and I'm just gonna let that kind of be what it is and not look deeper. Start having realistic conversations with yourself about how to deal with your emotions and your moods in the face of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Don't just experience it. Don't just go through it and because it's seasonal or whatever, it's just like I'm gonna deal with it. No, like that means hone in. That means focus in. That means maybe this time of the year is when you do your recalibrating of self-care. You figure out if maybe some stuff don't work. Maybe what you need is to be introduced to new tactics and techniques, new activities, new people, right? Like changing up your shit and making sure that you're not falling on the same things that carried you through last winter. You know what I'm saying? It's super important because as these seasons change, your life is changing around it, right? The constraints, the demands, the issues, the problems, the concerns in your life have changed. And so I imagine as they change, you're going to have to reconfigure how you respond to those specifically and intentionally during times like this year. So, I mean, I love talking to people about mental health because you end up with people who are like, I would never go to therapy. I would never do this. I would never do that. I would prefer to do this. I prefer to do that. And all of that shit is realistic because it is your inner self. It is, the person that you have to go to bed with every night and wake up with every morning. And so you want to be in tune with what Cat Williams used to say, you got to be in tune with your star player. You know what I'm saying? You are your star player. Like if you don't know that person better than anybody else, you're running a bad franchise. And so all of those things are super important. Just make sure that you are doing the intentional work of knowing self, of connecting with self, of handling self, and, bringing your shit full circle. That way you're not just up here just free falling through these weird, awkward seasonal months where things that are out of your control can affect your mental health. So,
yeah, because it can happen. It can happen quickly.
Exactly.
But this has been another great episode. We miss George, but it is what it is. I like Toya more than George. Anyway,
that's because we will argue. We can argue. You just don't want that smoking. So he gives you a bigger fight than I will. You don't have to do.
Listen. We're kindred spirits.
Sure.
But anyway, yo, I appreciate y'all. Everybody came out. Thank you for the likes, comments. Enjoy having y'all part of the conversation. To continue the conversation, follow the page on Facebook at the
Please.
Chop Up on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram at the Chop
The
Up
Chop
Show
Up
on
Show.
Instagram.
At the Chop Up
Follow
Show.
us on YouTube at the Chop Up Show on YouTube. You feel me? Follow me on Instagram at the Political Plug. Toya.
At Toya G. At Higher Definition Leadership. Our Higher Definition LEC. At Higher Definition LEC. Either one of those. Holla at me.
Straight up. Hey, and definitely got to give a final shout out to Post Pub Digital. That is our social media manager. You feel me? Been helping getting a lot of the information put out there. But if you need social media marketing, hit up Post Pub Digital on Facebook. You feel me? And they can get your shit cracking. It's lit.
Shout
But
out
it's
to
been
everybody
another
who
edition.
chimed in. Real quick. Shout out to everybody who chimed in, said some stuff, commented, great feedback. Malachi, Tiffany, Mark, much love to y'all. Everybody else out there who's listening, who stay tuned with us. We bang with y'all the long way. Dominique, close it out, my bad.
Yo, and remember, we both on Facebook and YouTube. So if you ain't trying to sit on Facebook, you can pop us up on the computer on YouTube. Either way, it go. Either way, it go.
Period.
But this is
The
the chopper.
chopper. Peace
Y'all
out.
be easy.